61% of unbelievers answered this question. If a friend asked you to study the Bible with them, what would you say? 61% said yes. Of the 30 and above, 42% said yes. And I just think there are more people who are open.
Well, good morning, Castleview. Good to see you again here on the Castleview Baptist Podcast. I have a very special friend today. His name is Jeff Musgrave, and many in this area would know you as Pastor Jeff Musgrave. Thanks for being on, first of all, today.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you being here today. You got to tell me, we've known each other. I think we met when we were looking at the area to start. Do you remember that? I think we were going to start the church. We were thinking about it. It would have been maybe 2008, early before the church started. I think we came up to a service.
Yeah, you've been in our church, and we were involved in getting the church started. It's been exciting to us to watch the process down through the years. You've done a great job here.
Well, we were always encouraged by you all because you did it up there. You started Highlands Baptist Church up in it's actually in Highlands Ranch, isn't it?
Well, it's just on the north side. It's not actually in the city or the area of Highlands Ranch. Yeah. But it's called Highlands Baptist Church.
Highlands Baptist Church. How'd you get there? Did you always, was that something that you always wanted to, did you see yourself as a church planter?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When I was in college, I traveled on a ministry team from our school, and 10 of the churches that we were in for the summer were church planting churches up in New England. Mm-hmm. And God just really stirred my heart and said, that's what I want to do. I want to start a church. I actually told people I was going to New England to start a church.
Is that right?
It just took a little bit too much of what I thought God was saying. But in the process, Ed Nelson, who both you and I are very, very close to, Anna grew up in that church, and he had mentioned to me just almost in passing, you ought to come out here and start a church. And so one day after I graduated from undergrad, I called him and I said, what were you thinking? Let's talk about this. And he said, well, you finish your grad degree and we'll make it happen. And so literally he prepared. We became members of South Sheridan Baptist Church and was a church plant from South Sheridan. And so that his goal was that we would start a church that would be a church planting center.
Sure.
And so Highlands actually has started 4 other churches besides Highlands.
I love that.
And it was really, really our focus. We thought that was life. We didn't know there was going to be any other life after Highlands.
Yeah. What was it about church planting that appealed to you? I never thought about church planting. I was in college. We traveled for a couple of years for Pensacola Christian. Went to be a youth pastor in North Carolina, and we knew our time there was coming to a close. Yeah. We were there for 6 years. And got away to pray about next steps, and the Lord started putting on my heart church planting. Yeah. I had never thought about it before. What was it that that kind of attracted you to it? You saw those church plants up in New England.
It was actually pretty exciting to me because with 10 different church plants in a summer, we saw different stratas of growth. Mm-hmm. And we were in a church that met in a bowling alley. It just, there was something exciting about carving something out of nothing.
Yes.
That I just really liked.
Something resonated in you. Yeah. I love that idea. I'll tell people sometimes now, if I had the choice, I'll tell young guys, if I had the choice of taking a church or starting a church, I'd start it 10 times out of 10.
It gets in your blood. I guarantee you drive by a place and you think, oh, someone could start a church there.
Yes. You see they got the parking, they got the space, they got whatever it takes. So you came out of South Sheridan. Yeah. How long were you there serving on staff with Dr. Nelson?
Well, I actually never served at South Sheridan.
Is that right?
I joined their staff as a church planter.
As a church planter. Okay. So you got finished with your graduate work. You moved out here with the idea of let's just go get started with a church.
Yeah.
How old were you?
I was 26.
Is that right? Would you recommend to most 26-year-olds, you're ready to go plant a church?
I actually tell guys you can do a lot more than you think.
Yeah.
I think it's us older guys that hold them back. I mean, they've got the drive. They want to do it, but we tell them, oh, you're not old enough.
Sure. You're a sharp guy, though. You can do more. I wasn't ready at 26 personally, I don't think, to be able to go and do
Well, I'm not
something
sure I
like
was
that.
ready. It just happened.
I don't think you are ever ready. I think it's a good point. I read so we're getting ready to start the church. I read a book. It was probably about this thick, and I think it was, the title of the book was something like Yes, But How of Church Planting or something. And it backed you all the way up to like 54 months before the church starts, right? So it's almost 5 years. And I'm reading this book and it's going, hey, at 54 months do this, and at 48 months do this, and it intimidated me so much that I finally said, you know what? I don't have 54 months to be able to start this. And what I found, and I wonder if you found the same, there is a season of a baby church. And it's almost like a little fawn getting its legs under it a little bit. You don't have to have every single thing in place, every policy done, every little thing, every dot, of every I. There is a growing up part of the church. So. Did you find that too?
Yeah, definitely. I think, though, that you and I did it differently than what most people are doing today. Most people go in with a staff.
They do. A team.
You got a team of at least 3 pastors.
Yeah.
I just think when you go in as a single guy, I'm going to start this church, and you, praise the Lord, God gave you some people that came with, and I think that is the core that you have to have. But it's different. And so what you did, what I did, it's different than what most of the guys are doing these days.
Would you do it differently now if you had a chance to do it again? Yeah. You'd get more of a team together.
The thing about the team that I didn't like was that it takes longer to become self-sufficient because it just takes more cash to be able to do it. Sure. But I think that people are excited enough about doing it well that you can have people raise the support that they need.
Sure.
And I think if you can start with the staff and have a few programs. So in other words, we've got somebody who can take care of children. The problem is when you do it all by yourself, you have to do it in pieces. You can't. You can't start everything.
No way around it. Where did you guys meet first? First Sunday, where were you meeting?
We met in a little elementary school called Willow Creek Elementary. So I mean, you've heard the Willow Creek Church. I had Willow Creek Baptist Church, and we met there for 2 years. Elementary schools are difficult because they go through seasons, and literally I preached one Sunday with a bat hanging in front of my face. So it was less than ideal, but we grew to about 70 people in that school and moved to a Grange building. And we actually used the Grange building more than the Grange did, and we were in that building for about 3 years, and then God gave us the property that Highlands was built on, and lots of miracles. You know this.
Yeah.
No church planter can ever build without miracles.
You look back and say, God, if that didn't happen, if you didn't allow that to happen, and you kind of piece it all together. Yeah. So you said you grew to about 70 in the school. Church growth experts will tell you that there are growth barriers. And, 60, 70 is one of them. 100 to 120 is one of them. 200 is one. We hit all, and it's so it's
you
strange.
Stopped at all of them, huh?
Yeah, we stopped at all of them. It's so strange. Why do you think that's true? And what do you do to help go through that? I've got a couple of thoughts about it, but did you hit the growth barriers also?
Definitely. I think that part of it is that people get comfortable in a certain setting, and that's one of the things that really I get real passionate about is helping God's people to recognize their potential to grow the church. I mean, that's really the church growth mechanism is God's people.
Yes.
And so if you get into a building and it is 80 to 90 to sometimes 100% full. Nobody is looking to, man, we got to grow our church. But you get into a new building, and it's like, man, there's nobody here. I think there's excitement levels that go with the new buildings, all different kinds of things. But I think it's more than anything else helping your people see the potential and the need to be reaching people.
Yeah. So you said something really interesting. People, your church people, are the church growth mechanism. What do you mean by that? Because don't we just send out the digital stuff? Can't we just put a video up on Facebook? Let that be the marketing strategy of the church. Why would you say that church people are the church growth mechanism?
Well, you probably have heard the statistic. The majority of people, vast majority, won't stay in a church longer than 6 months if they haven't found at least 5 people in that church that they consider their friends.
Yeah.
And so it is our people that allow people to grow roots in a church. Your programs are important. That ministers to people, but that's not really what holds people. What holds people in a church is when there are people around that become part of their community.
Yes.
And so that's why it is so critical. I do think that churches have a lot more potential to actually reach their neighbors. I don't know that many of us are actually seeing that happen. And that's really part of what the exchange is all about, is helping people to see that potential. But in terms of growth mechanism, your church is never going to grow more than your people are reaching the people that come and visit.
Yeah, but they've got to find that connection. We say at our church a lot, people are not looking for a friendly church, they're looking for friends. And there is a difference between those two things. I mean, friendly church, we don't do this anymore, but back in the day when I was growing up, hey, everybody stand up, shake your neighbor's hand or whatever. And some churches do it, and that's fine. We just, after COVID, we haven't done that since then. But everyone was really good sometimes in churches I've been in the past, and you shake hands and you see each other. But as soon as the service is over, the groups kind of get together, they go get lunch, and they kind of forget all of the newer people. If you don't make a connection, you may like the preaching, you may like the children's ministry or the music or whatever, but if you don't have a connection, at some point you're going to leave. And by the way, the other is also true. You may put up with the preaching. Yeah. You may put up with something that's not exactly right, which sometimes church plants, you don't have the quality that maybe another church down the road does, but you make a connection, and that makes a big difference.
It really does. And I feel like the whole idea of being friendly and making friends, two different things. We're in a different church almost every Sunday. And everybody's friendly to me. I'm the speaker. But my wife sometimes, she could literally, if she didn't go find people to talk to, she could go through an entire Sunday with no one saying a word to her.
How did you develop that at your church? Our church is listening. How did you develop that in your church? We've got some really excellent connectors and great guest services teams and host teams. But I feel like that's something you can always do more of and do better at.
Yeah.
How do you develop that in your church?
I think, number one, you're right. It has to be a culture. It has to be something that people just are constantly aware of and want to do. And so that's the baseline, is you have to help your people really want to do that. But Anna, my wife, is quite... she comes up with ideas. And we had a plan that we called Secret Servants. And people would sit in a particular area of the building, because once people get in and sit down, that's where no more connections take place.
Yes.
And so these were people assigned to sit down. They had no badge. And their job was, if someone came into your area, you just be friendly to them. You talk to them. You invite them to lunch afterwards. And what we felt like we were trying to do is find the people that were naturally connectors.
Yes.
And then give them kind of a region in the building to be responsible for.
That's great. We have a lady in our church. I've had several people tell me, and her name is Wanda. And if you're sitting in her section, she's going to let you know, hey, you're in my section and I want to know everyone in my, not that she has a job, but I just sit over here.
Yeah.
And we have hosts, and we don't always put our host in badges because we want them to feel like, okay, and they are normal church members, but we want you just to make sure that you're talking to people and organic conversations and all of that. So it doesn't happen by accident.
Back in the day, if someone came to our church and visited a few weeks, I always went to see them. I mean, it was what pastors did in those days, and I would always hear them say, "Oh yeah, I met," and they would name a guy named Howard Long. Mm-hmm. Howard was just one of those guys that was so friendly.
Yeah.
And he would connect with people. He would ask them to come sit with them. Mm-hmm. He would take them to dinner afterwards. Yeah. And I would always, literally, I never went to anybody's house that they didn't meet Howard. Howard is about 6'5", and he was big man.
Yeah, couldn't miss him.
And when Howard hugged you, and he was a hugger, you have been hugged, and he was really kind of the centerpiece and part of what helped us build that culture.
Yeah, interesting. We've got 2 or 3 people that on a regular basis. If I talk to a guest like you're talking about, we'll name 1 or 2 or 3 of these people. Yeah. And I just want to stop here for a minute and talk to our church. We are equipping every one of you. We're knighting every one of you. You have the responsibility. We're giving you that charge. We want every person to be that kind of person in our church. That's a culture thing. It's not, a couple people can do it and it doesn't become your culture. But when everyone is on mission with that, and our mission is leading people into a growing relationship with Jesus. Yeah. And we preach all the time that, listen, it doesn't matter what your role is. You are You may not be preaching the message. You're preparing people to receive the message. You can be working in nursery, and by your kindness and your organization and the way that you took that child, mom can leave now and go sit down and go, oh, my child's taken care of. I don't have to worry. I can listen to what I'm about to listen to. There's a lot of pieces, and what you've heard this stat, people make a decision in the first moments. It's just before the preaching ever happens. Now, the preaching can turn them off, and they can choose not to come back then. But before the preaching even starts, sometimes before the music starts, they're deciding, is this a place I could ever come back to again?
Well, and you've heard this before, people who tell you about how did you find Castleview, and they'll say something like this, I walked in the door and knew I was home. Mm-hmm. And there is just something that helps people recognize this is a place where I can feel connected.
Yeah.
I like the word connected better than I like the word comfortable, because there are some uncomfortable moments in church.
Sure.
But the connection is what keeps me there.
That's right. And that doesn't just happen from the platform.
Yeah.
That happens primarily by the way that people are handling them as they come into the doors.
Absolutely.
So you started in that school. You were there for about 2 years.
Yeah.
And where did you go from there?
We went to a Grange building, and in Inverness Office Park, way back in the back part of that area, it was a new building. The Grange building in that area had been torn down because I-25 was expanded, and they built them a new building, but it was way in the back. Yeah. We had to put signs up to get people to find it. But it was a perfect place for us, a little incubator for our little church to grow.
Yeah. Did you find it hard to get people to visit the school?
Yeah.
I know we did. People going, we don't want to be in the church that's not going to be here in a year, the startups. And we had a lot of people say, listen, we loved the church, but we don't really want to set up chairs every week and be mobile.
We really didn't grow past 80 until we got our building.
Till you got your building, sure.
What happened in the Grange building was that church matured into a family.
Sure.
Up until then, it was just a bunch of people meeting for preaching, and it was there that we really grew into a family.
Okay. And then you all built a beautiful building there at Highlands Baptist. What year was that? How many years in were you when you got in your first building?
We built the building in the 5th year of our ministry.
Wow.
So God just did a lot of amazing things.
Yeah, that's miraculous.
We were given the property. It was in the day, 1987, I think, it was valued at $1.25 million.
Wow. It's right on a main
Yeah.
road. You can't miss it.
Yeah. And it was a gift. It was total. Nobody paid a penny for that.
Wow.
And then the people who gave it to us actually helped us develop the property. And so we ended up having to build the building itself. But in those days, it was so much less expensive. I mean, I think we put the building up for less than $500,000.
Wow, it's amazing. And did you do it in phases?
Yeah.
Auditorium first? Or?
No, we built a 2-story structure with the auditorium on top.
Got it.
It was just the whole structure was there, but it was unfinished upstairs.
Sure.
And then we built our Awana Circle downstairs, and that became our first little auditorium.
Got it.
And then as we filled that up, we finished the upstairs.
Sure. Okay. So you ended up pastoring Highlands Baptist for how many years?
26 years.
26 years.
So I tell people I was 26 when I started it, and I pastored for 26 years. So I'm going to do this for the next 26 years and see what happens after that.
Well, tell us about what this is now. You've started a ministry called The Exchange.
Yes.
And was that a surprise, by the way, to your church when you got ready?
Well, it was a surprise to me.
Was it really? How did that happen? So just as a little bit of a background, and you'll tell us a little bit more about it. You go and equip churches to give the gospel. You've done it at our church. You've sat down. We have several sessions.
Yeah.
And you equip people to give the gospel. How did that start? Was it at a missions conference that started? What happened to say, you know what, I'm going to leave the church that I love, that I founded, we started, we're in a building, things are going great, I'm going to go do something else?
It was actually the tools that we built for our church that began to be successful. It was actually effectively reaching people. And as I developed those tools and was asked to go speak in places and help other people use the same tools, that I began to realize this is something that could really impact people. In 2001, I was asked to go to Singapore to train a church there, and I took 5 of our lay people with me, and we did the in those days, we called it a soul winning conference. And that little church really took off and grew because they understood the lay people were the ones who should and could be reaching their coworkers, their neighbors. And as I watched that happen, it just started ticking in my brain. I wonder if we began to equip lay people around the world to be able to do this, what would happen? And that's really the beginning place in my brain. And as we developed the tools and begin to help our people at Highlands begin to use those tools, it just said, man, I think I have to leave here and I have to go do this. I've never considered myself anything but a pastor. But I feel like the pastor's job is to equip the people to do it. We tell people that you should be making disciples.
Right.
But we don't always equip them to do it. And so that was really what the exchange was all about, trying to help people to be able to
love that. So needed. You were so helpful to our church. And by the way, you've been doing it for a long time.
It's
right?
16 years now.
16 years you've been traveling with the exchange. I would like our church to hear this, and then I want to get into a little bit of the gospel and how we can be more effective givers of the gospel. Our church has a family in it, the Rogers family.
Yeah.
Mike, Renee, the kids, great people, and faithful members now. They've been with us for a number of years. We couldn't love them more. Just a great, great family. And they came to Christ through you. Can you just maybe give us a little bit of a background to that, or what happened, or how did that come about?
Well, it's actually a longer story than I probably should tell. Michael's coworker was saved in our church, and her husband was close friends to the family, and he got a brain tumor and died. Michael came to the funeral, and at the funeral, I read from Van, the man who died. I read from his Bible study because we had done the Bible study with him. He trusted Christ. how Van said, "I know I'm on my way to heaven." And Michael came up to me after the funeral and he said, "I had no idea. I didn't know you could know." He said, and I said, "Michael, would you be interested in doing the same Bible study that Van did that brought him to this knowledge?"
Yeah.
And so we did the Bible study with Michael and Renee. It took us 4 months to get it done. They were very, very busy. We were busy just trying to find times to connect. And I actually, along the way, wondered, is this one going to take?
Yeah, sure.
But the last time we met in lesson 4, the Bible study itself kind of gives an invitation. And Michael said, "Yeah, I want to do that."
Wow.
And both Michael and Renee trusted Christ that night. Both of them got baptized. I remember telling Michael, the next step for you is to come to church. And his friend Mary Ellen was a part of our church still. I said, "You'll know Mary Ellen." And he said, "Well, I know you now. I'll just come and hang out with you." And I just thought that was really helpful for me to see that the Bible study gives you those relational tools that kind of just bring you close to people.
Yeah, when you talk about the Bible study, are you talking about the 4-week Bible study? It took you 4 months or so to get through that with
it was
just
4
hard
lessons.
To get together. Sure, 4 lessons.
But it took us like once a month we did it.
You taught us that when you came through. And I had a man that was attending the church, and they ended up moving to Tennessee, but I had a man that was attending the church, and I was burdened for him, and we were having some conversations. But you left after that, and I said, "You know what? Hey, why don't we go through this 4 weeks?" And he agreed to it, and so we started working through that. And I think it was actually the 3rd week. We sat down, and we were getting lunch together that day. And I called him by name, and I said, "Hey, what holds you back? I mean, what are the challenges, or what are the questions you have?" And he said, "We've been talking about this. Nothing holds me back." And we prayed right there at that restaurant, and he received Christ. And it was just a really cool experience. My wife and I had gone to dinner with he and his wife when they first started coming to the church. She knew the Lord. He didn't know the Lord. His mom had passed away years ago, and he struggled with the idea that, well, I don't believe my mom knew Jesus. If she's not going to be in a heaven, well, I don't know if that's what I want, right?
Exactly.
He struggled with it. And that really helped me to walk through your study and just give him a very simple but clear presentation of the gospel.
When I hear people, the Bible, talk about being bold with the gospel, I actually believe the word bold means clear more than it does passionate. That we have to be really clear with people so that they understand who God is and the fact that I don't have a relationship with him unless I come to him through Jesus Christ.
Yeah. What are some of the mistakes people make when they're trying to evangelize, witness to somebody? What are some of the things that you would say would be a mistake with somebody?
I think the biggest mistake is we never get to the gospel. I mean, we talk about Jesus, we talk about church, and we just never get to the actual gospel itself so that the person knows. I think that's the biggest mistake. I think we can push people to. So in other words, we're nervous about it, and then we kind of pounce on them, and now I'm going to give you the gospel. Now do it.
Sure.
And most people need more than one touch of the gospel.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so tell me what that looks like for a neighbor then. Because I'm on a plane. We talk about these plane conversations. Well, that's challenging. There's only a few minutes. You better get there, pretty quickly, if you're going to get there. But with my neighbor, I would handle that differently.
Yeah. But that's a good thing. You would handle it differently. My rule of thumb is if I have access to this person to be able to do a Bible study with them, I will ask them to do the Bible study. Even if I think they would get saved if I just gave them the gospel, I find that as a person kind of goes through the process of understanding that God's holiness has separated me from him, and that I don't have a relationship with him. I think a lot of unbelievers kind of assume that God loves me and wants to have a relationship with me, but I don't really sense him, and it's like I'm not sure exactly what's wrong. And if if we can help them see God in his holiness can't be close to me because my sin separates me from him, then it begins to understand when they begin to see his justice and recognize, oh, not only am I separated from God, but that's going to be eternity, and then help them see that Jesus Christ actually bridged that gap. He paid the debt that I owe. By the way, we find that most people who have any kind of hunger at all are ready to be saved after lesson 3. You mentioned that.
Yes.
Because lesson 3 is where we talk about the exchange, that Jesus Christ took my sin and gave me his righteousness. And then everybody needs to understand this is not an automatic. It doesn't happen because Jesus died. It happens because I choose to participate in what Jesus did through faith.
Yeah, there's a personal decision at some point that has got to be made. You start with holiness there. We talked about in church maybe 3-4 weeks ago, Jesus in the garden. He's got that cup. And sometimes we think of that cup, and I think people probably feel like, well, Jesus had to die because we were under condemnation. Satan was having victory, and we were going to go live with our father Satan forever. But it was God's wrath. Jesus did not save us from Satan as much as he saved us from God's wrath. Right? There's a judgment that takes place because of our sin. All we like sheep have gone astray. And then, of course, it goes on to say, but the Lord hath laid on him, Jesus, the iniquity of us all. But in the New Testament, you've got a call. You've got to make a personal decision. So just thinking about this question and what you just said, I've heard a lot of different things on this, and I understand. I guess I wouldn't be dogmatic on this necessarily. What do you think about praying to receive Jesus or believing in your heart? Some people would say, well, I want to lead somebody through, we would call it the sinner's prayer. What are your thoughts about that? Is that necessary? Is that something that has to happen? What are your thoughts about the sinner's prayer?
Well, I think let's back up and talk about what is necessary. It's not that the sinner's prayer is not necessary. What is necessary is that I choose to put my faith in the finished work of Jesus Christ. And I literally allow what he accomplished to be applied to me by trusting him, by putting my faith in him. Prayer is just an expression of that faith. And so is it necessary? Yeah, I kind of think it is, because we have to somehow communicate to ourselves and to God, I'm placing my trust in him, but it's not the prayer that saves someone. I mean, people pray all kinds of prayers. It's the faith that saves a person.
Okay, so the Bible says, believe on the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, and thou shalt be saved. I like how you just said it. It's an expression. Leading somebody through a prayer helps me as somebody that's trying to see, do they understand? And do they understand? It gives you a chance to clearly, even if they're repeating after you, it gives you a chance to clearly articulate for them to be able to express something there. So I do think that's an important tool. I think it's good for them to be able to do that. Could someone believe in their heart and maybe not go through what we would traditionally call the sinner's prayer? Yeah, I think you could.
I think they could. Eventually, they got to talk to God.
You have to talk to God. That's right. You don't have to talk to me, in the sinner's prayer, but you've got to talk to God at some point, right? Call upon the name of the Lord and thou shalt be saved. What are some of the, if you were talking to a neighbor and you wanted to see that neighbor trust Christ, I wouldn't start out very first time I meet them with an invitation, as far as a gospel invitation. Hey, would you like to pray to receive? I'm going to see them on a regular basis. I'm going to look at them and say, I want to invest in this person. Let me build a rapport with this person. Let me find some commonalities with this person. Let me have my wife take some cookies over to these people. Let me, you know what I mean? I'm gonna try to invest in this person as much as possible. Do you have any tips or points on how you might go about? Maybe it's a coworker or a neighbor, somebody that you're going to see on a regular basis.
We've begun to recognize moments in which the gospel is more effective, it's like this person is ready for it. And when we can give the gospel at that moment, it's so much more effective. And so what we have been noticing is that if I can be in a conversation with someone that I call a soul level conversation, in which they are beginning to talk to me about things that express needs of their soul. You see, soul needs are in every single human, and God put them there because he's the only person that can actually meet those needs. That's that vacuum that is inside of us. We identify the vacuum through these particular soul needs: fear, loneliness, lack of love, lack of a sense of purpose. Those are all things that when my coworker, when my neighbor begins to express to me, I've got this latent fear that is plaguing me, then I recognize that's not the gospel, but it's right next door to the gospel, and I know the path that gets me there. I can just say, I find that I have that same tendency towards fear, but it's my relationship with God that really helps me deal with that fear. Let me ask you a question. How would you describe your relationship with God? And now we're right there. We're on that path that's going to take us to the gospel.
Yeah. You have that 4-week study that we have copies of at the church, and we'll get more of them. I recommend people use it. Why has it been used? Why does it help somebody? I've got a neighbor that we've been talking about things, and finally I say, hey, I'm getting ready to do this Bible study. Would you be interested in going through this with me?
Yeah.
Do you find that's been a good transition to get somebody to sit down and do that with you?
I love it. It's a little less intimidating as a believer and as an unbeliever we'll study the Bible together, as opposed to I've got to preach to this guy. And it's a little less intimidating to both of us. But this is an interesting statistic. I think I've told you this before. In the 20-something crowd, there was a survey done that 61% of unbelievers answered this question. If a friend asked you to study the Bible with them, what would you say? 61% said yes. Of the 30 and above, 42% said yes. And I just think there are more people who are open than we know.
Sure.
And so just simply asking him to do a Bible study, number one, it's a little easier for them to want to do that. But then number two, it's not on me to do it right. I find one of the biggest obstacles to saved people wanting to talk to their unbelieving friends is they're afraid they're going to mess it up. And that way I don't have to worry about it. We're just going to do this Bible study together. I like to think of it as a good cop, bad cop. I get to be the good cop. I just put my arm around my friend, and I let the Bible study say, God is holy, God is just, God is loving,
There's
God is
punishment.
gracious.
Sure, sure. When I went through this study with this individual I told you about a moment ago, I had him do it on his own throughout the week, and then I did it, and then we got together and we talked about it.
That's my favorite way.
Okay, and what I found through that was when he came in, there was already conviction there. There was, I got to highlight some things, but I mean, he had done it already, and I could tell he was engaged with it. And so it was almost as if the Holy Spirit is working on that person even before you get together. So I think that's a great way to go about this, is just take a resource like the exchange study that you have. And by the way, for our church, if you'll ask me about it, if you mention it to me, we'll get those copies to you. I want to make sure people are resourced. And I think it doesn't take long. You go through that enough times, and you're going to get comfortable giving all of the gospel to somebody. But again, it gives them something to somebody sitting down talking to you and they hit so many things. You're a sinner and there's punishment for it and the wages of sin. You're hitting so many things talking, your brain can be spinning.
Yeah.
Right. And you can even have those thoughts in your mind. Am I really going to do this? Do I trust this person? But when you have this scripture verses and you've got this study, it's like they can chew on it.
Yeah.
And they can think about it. And the Holy Spirit can bring things to mind.
I love to watch that process. Mark chapter 4 talks about I call it the soul farmer. You see the seed go in, and then the blade comes up, and then the grain begins to come up, and then it's full mature, and it says that the soul farmer immediately puts in the sickle and reaps the harvest. And I think we need to remember, salvation is an instantaneous, miraculous gift from God. It doesn't happen in a process. Mm-hmm. It is an event that God gives to someone. Mm-hmm. But there is often a process that leads a person to that moment. Mm-hmm. And I love the Bible study because it works together with that natural spiritual growth process. I like to think of it as discipling a person to Jesus, and then the discipleship in Jesus is so much easier. I think that's one of the things that we really miss. If we lead someone to Christ in a one-time gospel conversation, sometimes it's harder to disciple them, to get them to grow with you. But if you've been studying the Bible with them for 4 weeks, I mean, they're going to ask you, okay, I've done this, now what?
Yeah, now what? Yeah, sure. But the study gives you a good now what, right? I mean, it does bring you to a conclusion.
Yeah.
If our church, if you were to encourage our church with, there are some, I think, that would say, I would love to be a better witness. I would love to be able to share my faith. How would you tell them to start?
Yeah.
What can they study? How can they prepare? What does that look like?
Several things that I would say. Number one, that Bible study we've been talking about, the Exchange Bible Study, it really is almost does itself. And so the key is, let's get close enough to our person that we want to give the gospel to, that they begin to talk to us about these soul needs. Every unbeliever needs a friend who will listen to them. So just learn to ask good questions, listen well, and as a person begins to get down onto those soul level conversations, say, hey, I have a Bible study that I think would be able to help you with these issues. Would you be interested in doing it with me? And the Bible study itself will really help you walk through the gospel.
Yeah. You just said something I think is interesting. Some of us need to learn how to talk to people. Some of us need to learn how to listen. I can have a tendency to kind of jump in there, talk too much, over-talk somebody. And I found that people love to talk about themselves. Yeah. The more questions I ask them about themselves and the more comfortable I make them feel, the more I make a big deal out of them, they like me more.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It's not that people like to talk about themselves. What they like is that when they talk about themselves, you're interested. I mean, what they love is that relational connection that shows them, Tate likes me. Yes. And the reason they like you is because you are showing them that you like them.
Everybody likes to be liked, right? I mean, everybody likes that place of... So I even think learning how to be a people person, learning how to be relational, learning how to encourage somebody else, I think these things go a long way even in setting the stage for that, hey, I'm getting ready to have this Bible study. I'm going to do it. I'd love you to do it with me. Would you be interested? I think that makes a big difference.
The book that we use to teach people how to make disciples is called Giving the Exchange. And the second half of the book is just how to articulate the gospel. But the first half of the book is exactly what you're talking about. Learning those people skills, learning how to connect with people. When we, if you just think about it, you really need to be able to trust the person who's telling you about this eternity decision.
You're talking about the biggest decision of your life.
Yeah.
And and by the way, that is challenging. I know for years and years it happened at the front step, and I just knocked on the door. I'm a pastor in town or whatever. Just to be really honest with you, Jeff, I can't imagine. I know a lot of people have over the years. I can't imagine myself going, hey, I just met you 2 minutes ago. Yes, let me pray to change everything in my life and give my. But these relational things really help, right? I mean, they're important.
I actually believe relational evangelism is God's way to reach the world. I believe that God made our churches with people who live all around the community. And the way God wants to reach Castle Rock is not from a building in which people come to, but it's through all of the people in that building going out and touching the lives of the people around them.
Thank you for saying that. I feel like every Sunday when we leave, it should be an army that goes out into the community to make a difference, right? We come in, we get encouraged, we pray, we encourage each other, we get recharged, we worship. There's a lot of things that happen there, but that's not the end of Christianity, right? And in Matthew, it tells us, it starts at salvation and continues through baptism, but then you've got this discipleship process that Paul says, hey, you need to go and teach others also. It should be a 360. And I think too many in our churches, they get saved, they're thankful for their salvation, maybe their kids get saved or their spouse gets saved, their family saved, and it ends. It stops there. And it should never be that way. Our churches should not be dependent on digital marketing to bring people into the church. Matter of fact, the best guests at church are the ones that somebody that they trust invited them in, that gets to connect them with other people, that encourage them to sit with them, that goes out for lunch after. I mean, these are not cold guests. I mean, these are warm individuals that are naturally inclined right away to be open and receptive to the message because, look, it's changed this person's life. They're saying nice things about the message and the pastor. This is an open door for me.
Your church is probably an anomaly in that it's got a decently new building and there's a level of excitement that's going on there. So you're probably drawing people from the community that haven't been invited. And I think that's probably true. But 87% of people who come into a church and stay were invited by someone inside of that church. So as the church grows, as your church grows, you're going to need that natural growth of your people connecting with their friends and neighbors and associates at church. Those are the ones who they're going to be able to reach.
Those are the best prospects. Say that stat again, 87%?
87% of people that have come to church and stayed were invited by someone inside of that church.
Wow. That's interesting. 87%. That does show you because we get a lot. We get several guests every Sunday. I think God is doing a great thing at Castle View, and I think that all of us have to just really almost sit and look around and just glory in what God is doing, because that is not the norm around the country. What's happening at Castle View right now, where literally people are coming in off the street that doesn't know anybody inside of there. I mean, that's really, really not the norm. But I am so thrilled with what God is doing there. That means, thank you. That means we have to be very intentional, doesn't it? To steward.
It's a season.
It's a season. Yes. It's funny you say that word. I've told people recently it feels like we've been here 17 years now. We're going to have our 17th anniversary in next month.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It seems like we just got here, and it seems like forever at the same time. But there was, before we got into the building, it feels like there was 15 years of planting and watering and cultivating and just working and just blood, sweat, tears. And since we got in the building, there's been a season of harvesting that has been really unique for us. And God is using the building, but the building isn't the gospel. No. The building it's a tool to be able to use.
I've actually watched people build a building and then not have that happen. It was shocking and destructive to them. And so this is a work of God. I mean, what God is doing at Castle View is literally Him. And it is a special season. It's just, it's wonderful. I like to think of it as a wave. And when waves come in, you got to catch it. You got to write it.
Yeah.
Because it won't go forever.
Yeah, and a few people can't catch the wave. The church needs to catch the wave,
absolutely.
right? I mean, everyone's got to get on board with this. It happens, not just staff, not life group leaders, not deacons, it happens when a church gets missions minded.
Yeah, and I think from what I see, Castleview is doing that, and I think that's pretty exciting.
Anything I haven't asked you about that you'd want to add as we kind of wrap up? Anything, any thoughts, any suggestions, any ideas, anything that you'd say, hey, I need to say this before we're done?
I would love to tell your people that we have an Exchange app. It's just a tool that could be a real help. It's kind of a first thing you can invite someone. It's like a digital gospel tract that they can read. You can do the Bible study right in the app itself. And I feel like the thing that the Exchange wants to do for people is to give them the tools, because we believe they're the disciple makers.
Yes.
Our training is really not the thing that stands in the highest place. It's the tools that make individuals productive. And so the Exchange app is just a great tool to be able to get.
Yeah.
We actually call it the Exchange Message app because there are so many exchanges.
Sure.
And
tell our people how to find that. How do you get it?
You go to either one of the Google Play Store or the Apple Store and just look up Exchange Message. You'll see our little X logo, and it's a free download. If you want to do the Bible studies in it, it's a nominal fee to buy the Bible studies to do inside of it. But the digital gospel tract is right there. It's free. It's easy to use. And it's fun to use. It's got little interactive illustrations that as a person reads through it or as you use it for a gospel conversation tool, they can look at it, watch it. I actually find people reaching over and touching my phone because they want to make it work.
Sure.
And so I think the Exchange app is a wonderful tool to be able to help you in gospel conversations.
Yes, I have the app. I think it's extremely helpful. I'm glad you mentioned it. And for anyone that's listening right now that goes, you know what, I don't know how to work through this. I don't have the book with me, whatever. You could go right to that app and you can find the information that you need.
Absolutely. And there are some videos inside of the app. You just go down to the menu. We have a online course that's 18 sessions, little 20, 25-minute sessions that I believe would really help people. It's affordable. If someone wanted to take it as an individual, they could do it. All of that you can find via the app.
Excellent. And tell us, you have a podcast.
Yeah.
Tell us where we can find the podcast.
It's called Gospel Talks. And just anywhere you find podcasts, you'll find it. Gospel Talks podcast is just conversations about the gospel. So what we're doing today, we do every week.
Yeah, I love that. And that'd be a great resource too. I mean, just to be hearing that on a regular basis, things that, they're talking about this, I've always wondered about that, or I never thought about this, just to have that on your mind. And, sometimes you'll learn things. Other times it's just, I got this on my mind. I'm thinking about gospel conversations, and I think that could be very impactful.
We actually answer questions. So our audience writes in questions. And so if any of your people have questions that they would like for us to do a podcast about, we would love to hear about it.
Good. Jeff, thank you. You and Anna have been great friends. Our church supports you. And
I should have started with that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no. Well, the reason I wanted to say that was not for us to get any credit for that, to tell our church how much we believe in what you're doing. And our church's part of the missions dollars that they give is going to you and to Anna and the Exchange Ministries that allow you to travel to churches all over the country, but also all over the world. I see you often 2 weeks out of the month. You guys are in some place, some country, some local church, some church here in the States, and you're raising up soul winners, gospel givers throughout the world.
The passion of the Exchange is laborers. The harvest field is plenteous. The laborers are few. The passion of the Exchange is laborers. We want to train them up.
Yeah, I love it. Thanks for being on with me today. Look forward to our church getting to get connected with you a little bit as well.
Great. Thank you.
And church, thanks for listening today. Listen, you ought to get that app, the Gospel Message. You got to get that. Is it the gospel
It's
message?
an exchange
The
message.
exchange message. I'm sorry, the exchange message. Get that. Once I said it, I thought I was wrong. Get the exchange message. That app will help you so much. And it'll also lead you to some of the resources that they have put out there. And so make sure you get that. Listen, if you can go to the gospel talks and listen to the podcast and just be able to hear what's going on in that ministry, we'd love for you to pray for them. People like Mike and Renee Rogers and their children and the impact that they've made in our church are beneficiaries of what's happened with the exchange ministry. So thank you for giving to missions, and thank you for Angel Heart for giving the gospel. Hey, thanks for joining us today on this episode of the Castleview Baptist Podcast. We will see you next week.